Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, master's in counseling psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. I'm excited to introduce my guest today, Isabel Chiara, author, life coach, and creator of the revolutionary new app Nourish, as well as her upcoming third book of the same name. Stay tuned to see what Isabel has to share. Hey listeners, I want to remind you to support Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine podcast. You can do that by going on to www.buzzsprout.com/958-528/support. This will be in the show notes. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Isabel Chiara, author, life coach, and creator of the revolutionary new app Nourish, as well as her upcoming third book of the same name. After helping hundreds of clients unlock their true potential, Isabel has turned her focus to a universal challenge, transforming our behaviors and healing our often unhealthy relationship with food. Isabel is going to discuss how we can activate our own power, access our inner tools, and redefine what whole life nourishment means from the inside out. Isabel's work explores the deep-seated emotional and psychological challenges many of us face around food, revealing why reconnecting with our inner wisdom is the key to transforming unhealthy patterns. She guides people in shifting these behaviors through self-awareness, compassion, and actionable practices. Many people feel caught in cycles of guilt, shame, and frustration around food. These emotions not only impact physical health, but also take a toll on mental well-being. Isabel's approach isn't about dieting. It's about fostering a sustainable, loving relationship with ourselves. Her Nourish app supports users with mindfulness practices that promote presence, awareness, and self-compassion, naturally transforming how they relate to food. The accompanying book provides a deep, immersive journey into self-discovery, helping readers awaken the tools they already possess to cultivate a truly nourished life, beyond diet alone, integrating body, mind, soul, and spirit. I'm honored and pleased to welcome my guest and friend, Isabel Chiara. Welcome, Isabel.
Hi, Jill. How are you?
So happy to have you on Cosmic Scene. I'm so excited to talk about your Nourish app and so much more.
I'm excited to be here and talk about it with you.
Excellent. So right off the bat, why do so many people struggle with maintaining healthy eating habits, and how can self-connection and uncollapsibility change that?
So I think that what happens at an early age is that we begin to look for some kind of safety in our life because we really don't know or understand what's happening as a child. So we begin to, and a lot of times we were fed so that we didn't need to be heard as a child.
Right.
And so what happens when you do something a couple of times, let's say your mom fed you or somebody fed you, then that now becomes a habit and it feels good to eat. Let's face it, most people love to eat, right?
It's primal.
Yeah. So I think that what actually happens is then that becomes our, catch basin, like that's what we're going to be doing. Right. And we feel safe doing it. So whatever brings us to that point of safety, then we just choose that. And on some level, food is nourishing. But what ends up happening is that we know as we get older that we're not really nourishing ourselves. We're not really feeding our soul. And at the end of the day, we're really, instead of consciously choosing food, we're using food as a way to move through life. And at the end of the day, we don't want to have that be our solution for everything. That's what starts to feel uncomfortable in our bodies.
Yes. So what I hear you saying, it's almost like it's a very primal thing. It's connected to the root chakra, survival, stability. And as a young child, of course, it's a natural thing. But when it's used in a way other than for pure nourishment, there becomes psychological or subconscious issues that then show up with using food to get through difficult situations, and that the subconscious trigger gets activated by, let's say, a difficult situation or a challenge in the world, and somebody defaults back to food will be okay, food will make me feel better, food is my
Hmm.
solve.
Right. But what ends up happening is it becomes everything instead of it becoming about one thing that we're trying to calm ourselves or calm or soothe any kind of feelings we have inside of ourselves. I think people also, or we or whoever, are running away or escaping their feelings, because I began to realize that what ends up happening is that before things happen, we start to get these feelings and sensations in our body of anxiousness and fear, and they show up before we even see it in our outside reality.
Right.
So we end up getting triggered before we know what the trigger is,
And a lot of times
right?
people won't even understand. It takes process to understand what the trigger
Hmm.
it is, because it becomes such a habitual pattern that I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious. Here's this old trigger, something's being asked of me and I don't think I can do it. Oh, I'll just start eating and that will calm everything down.
Right.
Yeah, it's like any addictive pattern. It's a way to escape whatever is presenting, and a way to go back to what was once a nurturing or self soothing way of being in the world, which leads us to your
Right.
app. I mean, I love this
Right.
app that you created. I really want to hear what inspired you to create the Nourish app, and how does it differ from other wellness apps?
Great question. So it's a way to look at our outward behaviors on how we relate to food. And by doing that, we can heal our own relationship with food. We can explore very deeply what is driving us, or what kind of behaviors are moving us into a certain direction. And so this app, it's been one of my points of really learning about myself. But I don't even talk about it in just a food form. I talk about Nourish as a bigger overall perspective on how we're doing our life, because food is really only one aspect
Right.
of our life. First of all, I do coaching, and my process that I use is called an actualization process. And it begins to look at the internal makings of what motivates people to do their certain behaviors in life. And I was working with people, and I would come up with a guided meditation, or what I call an activation, to move people through whatever was triggering them and whatever patterns needed to be shifted according to what they were constantly bringing up in their life. And so they were very similar in a lot of different people. And so I decided that I would put these all together in a bundle, which is what I call most of these, a whole bundle series. And this is called the Nourishment series. And a lot of the activations were very profound in getting my clients to be very aware of certain behaviors they had. And it's not like they changed, they did it once and they shifted. It's happened over, they would get great results in one of their activations that we did. And then we would do others, and it started to shift many things in their life. It wasn't just like how they did food, it was just how they did their life. So I would love to share with you some of the activations that I have on this app.
Yeah, that
Um,
would be great. So, what I'm hearing you say is that not only does the Nourish app deal with behaviors with food, but it's also a metaphor for responses or behaviors to all aspects of life. I love this.
for sure.
So
For
there's
sure.
such a psychological component, and I know that you're really good with tracking all that for yourself and for people. So please do share.
Yeah. So thank you. One of the activations that I have is one called I'm Not Enough, which is, I believe, underlying a lot of how people just feel about themselves and how they respond to different stimuli in their life. And so many of us have adapted that kind of thought pattern from an early age. And then we conditioned ourselves to recognize this pervasive rhetoric underscoring our thoughts, like, oh, no, it's not enough, or, oh, I'm not good enough, or, whatever words they start to say to reinforce that feeling or that sensation. So this is a really big deal, this kind of thought, because can you imagine, and we can, that doing anything, we're feeling, I don't know, we're second guessing ourselves. So it
Right.
leads to just an unsafe feeling in the body or an anxiousness in the body because we're so uncertain.
Right. It's all about self-worth. So it
Hmm.
indicates a lack of self-worth. And if people are
Hmm.
feeling that way, they can be taken advantage of, and so many other things can manifest for them. So it sounds like this is the antidote to that.
Exactly. So it begins to revert to that time in our childhood. And, I know people might say, oh, we got to go to the inner child. Yes, it's a great place to start
Right.
because we made up a lot of strategies for ourselves while we were a child who didn't have other alternatives or thought that we were just doing everything right and we were just trying to survive. We go back to the child and we explore, what happened, what they experienced at that time, and what our inner child needed at that time. Because what ends up happening is there's an inner guardian that I bring in all of these activations. And that's the person that's guiding the inner child through this experience. And it's really powerful. There's like almost a resolution for for the person, the client. And in this case, whoever's listening to this app, they and you start to bring these thoughts back with you into your later years, and you start to transform the picture, the visual, the feelings that you had at that time, realizing that you made certain decisions at this time. And maybe life isn't really like that. Maybe you are more than enough, and it's just a matter of looking at this, and things begin to shift, and the words that you start to use for yourself begin to shift too. And I like to think of the word nourish as an overall, like, big, project over your whole life, and a mantra that I'm that begins to be used as a way to start to feel those sensations of, I am good enough, and life is joyful, life is happy. Because what ends up happening is things begin to shift in every part of our life. And so the word nourishment is kind of the catch-all for how we are going to move in our life. And I feel like the word nourishment itself, even if you kind of say it, there's a kind of tone to that word that
Right.
allows us to feel safe. And nourishment also is a path. It's not just a one and done, it's a path that we're taking. And on that path, we are never wrong, right? You're not in a wrong spot, wrong level, or, oh, why didn't I get it yet? Because you're just on this path, and your path is to, let's face it, we want to be joyful, we want to be happy, unless you're doing one of these activations and you realize you really don't. But really, the end goal is to be nourished and happy. And we always will be, because the judgment that we have will start to relax itself. It'll start to fade away. The other words that will come to mind are more about nourishment and feeding yourself and feeding your soul.
Beautiful, Isabel. So, wow, this is a powerful process. It's reminds me of alchemical hypnotherapy. When we go back, we rescue the inner child. I love the inner guardian. That could be like
Hmm.
an inner guide who comes in and says, yeah, what your parents was doing wasn't really the best for you, but this is the way to do it now. And so And what you're saying about the word nourish, nourishment, there is an energetic with that word, which is always related to health. When you think nourish, you think health, right? You don't
Right.
think overindulge, you don't think, addiction, you think health. So I love that. And I think that what you're doing with people as they work with this, that you're uncovering shadow content, obviously, which we all need to
Hmm.
be doing at this time on the planet to go to the next level. But it's very personal, and I mean, it's root chakra and it's second chakra. It's survival, but it's also once we get healthy with how we're nourishing ourselves, our creativity and what we can put forth through our world. Think a second chakra where we
Hmm.
gestate ideas and creativity that can become very vitalized. So I think what you're offering people is health, vitality, and reclamation of life source and life force. This is very, very powerful stuff. Thank you for sharing today. And so here we are talking about how Nourish, the app, and what you're providing integrates body, mind, soul, and spirit. An approach to not just food, but self care. It translates to all these other aspects of people in their life. So I'm curious to hear some of the success stories that some of the users have experienced.
What ends up happening is we end up looking at the the events that are so probably fresh in our minds as a child. We end up looking through this app also at these events. They end up kind of shifting, and the people that were the persons that were triggering us or were uh, affecting us, we end up looking at them differently also. We end up shifting how we are relating to them and how they affected our life. It ends up not being as triggering as the only word I could use for that right now. It ends up being more of a, okay, yeah, that happened, and we end up having a whole different perspective along with those patterns that we saw or that event that we saw in our life.
I love that. So basically, what you're doing is rewriting the script. You're taking away the charge or the trigger, neutralizing it, and then they
Right.
don't have to revisit that every time a certain food shows up or something happens. It's like it's been neutralized. That's
Right.
beautiful. That
Or choosing the wrong person in their life.
right. It's amazing.
We
It
can get into a
relates to
lot of stuff,
relationships
right?
too. Right.
Right.
So we're going to take a break here. Isabel, I understand you have an offer for my listeners to the
I
podcast.
do. I do.
What is that?
So we'll put it in your show notes, but
Yes, we
it's a
will.
one free month of really listening to the app. And so much success can come from that one free month. And I would love your listeners to try it. Let us know what results you get and let us know how your life is shifting and changing and how nourishing your life becomes. So we are offering one free month.
And how can they access that? And what is the website? And what is the contact information if they want to work with you personally? You are available to work beyond the app, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can
Well,
give all
they
that
can
info
go,
out, please.
okay, they can go on Isabel, Isabel dash Chiara, CHIARA.com. And they can go on the Nourish app. They'll have to pick up the coupon from your show notes and they can apply that uh, coupon to the Nourish app, which is on the Apple phone.
Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
exciting. So when
And
we,
there's also other books that I've written
oh yeah,
and
please share those.
under the same website, or they can go to Amazon. It's the first book's called Eat Your Words. And the second book is called Bod Behavior, which goes into a lot of different modalities of, working on these outworn behaviors that we are all experiencing. And there's so many ways to look at things in our life. And I think that the more work others are doing right now, I feel like we are at the forefront of a lot of this inner work, and someone comes along and finds an app like this, it doesn't need to take a long time anymore for someone to heal themselves and start to shift. It can happen instantaneously, just because it's already been done and people are already looking at all of this. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes, that's the beauty of these times. People can really cut through that shadow content so much
Mm-hmm.
faster and we can all have collective consciousness activation to higher luminous spheres. And thank you for your contribution, Isabel. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Nourish app and so much more. So stay tuned. Are you interested in natural health and regenerative healing? Do you want to work with vibration to heal your body? Check out this patented wearable light technology at www.lifewave.com/JillJar. LifeWave is a company that has patches that you wear. So it's not transdermal, you're not taking anything in. And what these patches do, they activate your body's light. It's called biomodulation. And that light is activated, your body starts producing GHK, copper peptides, which in turn activates stem cell production. That's right. So wearing these patches will regenerate your body, reflects your body's light back into your tissues, and you become more vital, energized, reduce pain, inflammation, improvement of sleep, increased strength are all possibilities. Other benefits could be hair quality, rapid wound healing, mental clarity, increased joy and stamina, your skin appearance and wrinkles could go away. Again, all probable and possible depending on your chemistry. Others have enjoyed increased sports performance and recovery and restored muscle or skeletal conditions. Check it out at lifewave.com/JillJar and order yours today. Welcome back. My guest is Isabel Chiara. Isabel, welcome back. We are exploring the Nourish app and all the benefits that people are receiving from working with you. And I know you have some really powerful testimonials from some of the people that have worked with this. So please share for our listeners so they can know that they too can have this benefit from it.
Right. Well, this one was really powerful. It just happened recently with one of my clients. And so it's called setting the table, right? And it's a metaphor of how we are in relationship to the food, the people, our growing up, and what we did at the table as a child. And some people have, a lot of angry moments at the table with their families. And, there's a lot of drama at the table.
Yes.
And so this particular woman remembered as a child that, it's like it happened yesterday, and she's in her 60s, that she spilt milk as a young child. She was 7 years old. And her father was super angry and got up and was yelling, and the milk was all over the table. And she ended up just crying, losing it, left the table, and no one ever went after her. No one ever went to see if she was okay. And there's that anger that's at the table, and then that fear lingers on, right? Whenever you're at the table, you're worried. Oh my God, you're so anxious when you're at the table. So that anxiety kind of lives with you when you are at a table. I don't care if it's 40 years later, you still have some of that still plays a role.
The residual, it's still in the subconscious. It's going to come out in weird ways. So what happened? So setting the table.
So setting the table, went in with the little girl and the inner guardian, just exploring her feelings of anxiety and how it showed up for her in her life. And so what ended up happening to her is she couldn't take in food, right? She could eat, but it was never registering in her body. Wow. Because she was so disconnected to her body. Like that was the point of her life when she escaped her body and thought that would be a better way to live life in this particular household. So by doing this particular, I recommend for people to do, to pick one or two and listen to it a couple of times a week.
The activations?
And this one's called Setting the Table. and just listen to it, even if you're just listening to it unconsciously in the background, or before you go to bed, just a couple of times a week. What ends up happening is you're going through this whole mechanical, it's a very well guided, very precisely guided activation. And so it ended up, after about 3 weeks of doing this particular one, she ended up having a dream where her father came in, and the same scenario played out. She dropped her milk, and the father got up from the table, walked over to her, kissed her on the forehead, and wiped it up and said, "Everyone spills milk."
Don't cry over spilt milk.
Right? And I mean,
Wow.
that was just one of the ways. This was very profound because it happened. I thought it happened pretty quickly because it was something that was with her whole life.
Now, was
And
the
here
father,
she,
was he still alive, or was it like,
no, no,
so that makes it
no.
even more powerful. He was
It's
basically coming
so
from
much
spirit.
more powerful, and it was real for my client. It was super, super real. She believed her father was there, and she had this huge shift, and that was the healing that occurred. But it already had begun changing. um, she was already becoming less anxious at the table, and just knowing this particular, what triggered her in her life, because we don't really say, hey, this is the point where I was triggered. It was just a point, like, she remembered at one point.
Wow.
So it
Profound.
was
Triggering
very,
event. Profound. And
very
then in
profound.
a healing from spirit, a healing from the inner father. The inner
Right,
father becomes the kind, loving father instead of the punitive father is so powerful.
right. That was the big shift.
I can imagine. I'm sure
Yeah.
she's doing so much better. So,
Hmm.
for
Well, it
listeners,
actually changed her whole perspective on how she viewed her father,
which is a huge healing there.
which is even huger, that, not more huge, that you could discover or have another relationship than the one you actually had. There are some parents that, may have had such, an effect on us that's not positive, or it's just really traumatic. And to have something shift from one whole way of looking at that you've looked at your whole life, to have it become, oh, that takes a load off you. It takes a load off of us.
right. It's going to help her in her relationships with men too, because father is the first male that shows up. And if the father was
Mm-hmm.
punitive and not
Mm-hmm.
expressing love in the way she needed
Right.
it, that might be the way that she went through life with men. So this is going to actually help her with all her relationships with men. That's another side benefit for
Right.
so your clients. Not only will you get, connected to the way that you nourish yourself, but you also are going to improve your relationships with the opposite sex, and you're going to
Right.
heal your parental relationships no matter where in the timeline you are now, which is so
Right.
cool. That does demonstrate there's no time and space. It's all happening in the
Exactly.
now. This
Right.
is this is so cool,
It is
Isabel.
very powerful, because these are very specific. Like, another activation that I have is called a relationship healing pyramid. Like, these are so powerful because you actually can speak. We set up this whole dynamic where you're actually speaking to people that have transformed the ways that you relate to yourself and the way you relate to others. And you are actually, in this inner child and inner guardian dynamic, actually speaking to them. And so your feelings are coming out, um, your thoughts are, everything's coming out, and you're able to be heard. You're able to really see what your body really needed and really wants. And in this relationship healing pyramid activation, or I even have another one that's a healing family dynamics, it's amazing when you go back out, because you're really the one that's shifting, and you go out in the world, and the world looks a little bit different
Right.
people that
And
you
reacts to you
related to.
differently. Yeah, it reacts to
Yeah,
you
and you're like,
differently.
I wonder what changed. Really, you changed.
Well, that's the key to any form of transformation or self-work.
Hmm.
We have to be the change we want to see in our world. And people keep trying to look outside of themselves, but it's really the inner work that's the key to any transformation or change. And at these times it's so important because there's so much distraction out there that just it's all the answers are within. I mean, this is spiritual
Really,
teachings. You're basically using spiritual teachings, but in a very practical way, which is what people need, applicable and practical. And this is what your app is doing and your work is doing. I'm just
mm.
curious too, like what you have reminders, you have affirmations in the app. How do they work?
I have also what I call an elixir, which is
Love it.
a
What's that?
sheet. It's a sheet that describes the actual app. So let's just say you listen to the app, but then you weren't really paying attention. So there's this elixir that describes what all the points are in the app and what all the points are that, to notice. And then at the end of each, it's divided into bundles of 3. At the end of that, there's affirmations that are at the end it's a recorded affirmation. So you could just listen to that recording, and it starts to really motivate you. You start to wrap your whole mindset around it. And it's really important what we say to ourselves.
Self-talk
Really.
is huge.
Self-talk it's all about self-talk. And
Positive self-talk.
yeah. And what most people notice is the words just begin to shift and their mood begins to shift. They begin to feel lighter and walk with more confidence and be more clear about their perspective and what they're looking for, and um, they have another love and self-acceptance for themselves. I know that sounds very cliche, but it's not from the outside in, like, oh, I'm going to love myself more. It's really like an inner feeling that you have about yourself. This feeling of self-acceptance and nourishment, it starts to live inside of us, and we start to move with that behind us in our foundation now. It's replacing all of these behaviors that just aren't working for us anymore.
Right. It's like giving a computer a new program. You're giving the
Hmm.
brain, the mind, a new program, which then affects the whole body, mind, spirit complex. And it allows, humans are amazing at the way that they can shift. It's like new input, new information, but your app has also cleared the subconscious pattern and what has
Hmm.
interfered. So now the affirmation part is like, this is what you replace it with: the positive
Hmm.
self talk, the positive information to your
Hmm.
whole being, your body is temple,
All
your
right.
soul. And so people adjust, and we're amazing as humans, our complex, our body mind spirit complex. And you're addressing this with this. And so before we leave, maybe for somebody who's listening to the podcast, what simple practices can listeners start using today to nourish both body and spirit, in addition to getting the Nourish app?
Right. Well, I think that if you just use the word nourishment and nourish in every behavior that you're doing, everything you do, if you're going to work out, if you're going to get in your car and go pick somebody up and you don't really want to, we get to say that word to us like a mantra, like, I'm I'm nourishing myself. This is nourishing to me. And if we start to own that in our life, then everything becomes about that nourishment. And our life just becomes it's almost like it opens up for us. And there's no room for other things to come in.
Oh my God, I love that. That's such a
Yeah.
beautiful reframe. That's such a beautiful reframe. I think everybody
And
needs to try that.
yeah, and you're reframing your entire life actually in a in a moment, because we have a judgment on all of these things that we do, and we have a lot of I have to's. I don't really say I have to anymore. I really say, okay, this is good. I don't know what's going to come of it. I don't know where this is bringing me. And if it's something I really don't like, I'm like, okay, you know what? This is good because I could meet somebody here. It could be really interesting. I think my universe is showing me a new direction, and it starts to happen. Life becomes more miraculous because we have this, because now you're allowing things to spontaneously come to you.
You're opening space. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for these profound insights, Isabel Chiara. People can check out the show notes on how to get in touch with you, how to get the app. It's been such a revelatory process having you on Cosmic Scene. Thank you so much for these wonderful offerings. Thank you so much, Isabel.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
It's a great time to book a reading. So check out my website, JillJardineAstrology.com/shop, and pick the kind of reading or service you would like. I hope you enjoyed this episode featuring my guest, Isabel Chiara. Remember to subscribe, download, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending nourishing vibrations into the quantum field.